The lights of downtown New Hartsville glimmered under a crescent moon, casting long shadows across the damp cobblestone streets. Crime was as easy to find as darkness in the narrow alleys, but tonight, something unusual had rattled the community. Detective Lara Grants brushed a strand of auburn hair from her face as she approached a modest apartment complex cradled between aging brick buildings. The street was unusually quiet, except for the occasional whisper of scurrying feet. Either human or rodent, one couldn't be sure in New Hartsville. She stepped under the flickering light of the hallway and knocked on apartment 3C. The door swung open, revealing a frantic young woman, her eyes wide with terror. "Please, come in, detective," she implored, her voice tinged with a trembling Eastern European accent. "It's Ivana! She's gone!" Lara entered, noting the minimalistic decor disrupted by a flurry of sheet music scattered across the floor. "Tell me everything, miss." "Kovac, Marta Kovac. Ivana, my sister. She was the first violinist for the New Hartsville Symphony Orchestra. But she never came home last night. And today, she did not show up for rehearsal. This has never happened before." Detective Grants slid into the chair opposite Marta, her eyes scanning the room for clues. "Did Ivana have any enemies? Anyone that might want to harm her?" Marta shook her head, her brows knitting together in worry. "No, everyone loved Ivana. Her voice trailed off as she choked on the last word. Lara stood and paced slowly around the room. Her eyes landed on an open violin case, empty. She pointed at it. "I assume that was her violin?" Marta nodded. "A Stradivarius from 1714. Very valuable, but more than that, it was her soul. She would never leave it behind voluntarily." "That suggests she didn't plan to disappear," Lara mused aloud. "Was there any sign of break-in? Any threats received?" "Nothing. It's just like she vanished into thin air," Marta replied, struggling to maintain her composure. The detective grounded her thoughts and focused on her next steps. "I need a list of names, anyone close to Ivana, friends, colleagues, even casual acquaintances." While Marta compiled the names, Detective Grants stepped outside for a moment to catch a breath of fresh air. The night was cold, and as she looked up at the star-flecked sky, she pondered the complexities of human emotion, the dark crevices of jealousy and greed that lurked beneath the surface. Returning inside, Lara collected the list and made her way to the New Hartsville Symphony Orchestra. The building was silent, a stark contrast to the vibrant harmonies that usually filled the air. She navigated through the backstage, marked by a distinct smell of rosin and aged wood. Her eyes caught a glimpse of a peculiar indentation in a dusty corner. It looked like the outline of a violin case. As she knelt to inspect, she heard a shuffle of feet. Spinning around, her hand instinctively reaching for her holster, she faced a timid-looking man, his eyes shifting nervously. "I heard about Ivana," he stammered. "I'm Julian, the second violinist. I wanted to see if I could help." Lara studied him, her detective sense tingling. "Julian, was it? Do you know anything about this mark here?" She pointed to the ground. Julian hesitated, swallowing hard. I saw her, Ivana. 2 nights ago. She was arguing with someone, a tall figure, dark coat, couldn't see the face." "And you didn't think to mention this earlier?" Lara's tone was sharp, tinged with accusation. "I was scared," he admitted, lowering his gaze. "Scared of what might happen if I got involved." Detective Grants took a deep breath, her mind racing through scenarios, discarding impossibilities, and weaving the probable elements into a coherent theory. "Stay here, don't leave town," she instructed before stepping out back onto the street. 3 days of relentless investigation followed. Leads turned cold, suspects alibied out, and the pressure mounted. Then a break in the case came unexpectedly. A pawnshop owner called about a nervous individual trying to sell a Stradivarius. With the serial number matching Ivana's violin, Lara and her team moved swiftly, apprehending a suspect. The dark-coated figure, Julian, had half seen in the shadows. It turned out to be a jealous ex-lover, a cello player from a rival orchestra, desperate to ruin Ivana's career, as she had once inadvertently done his. The crisscrossing motifs of love, hatred, and revenge had woven a deadly tapestry. As the suspect was led away, Detective Grants returned the Stradivarius to a tearful, relieved Marta. "Thank you," Marta whispered, clutching the violin like a lifeline. Back at the station, Lara filed her report, the weight of exhaustion settling on her shoulders. Justice had been served, balance restored. But in the quiet of her office, the detective couldn't help but wonder about the fragile souls of those who lived for their art, and how closely genius bordered on madness.